What is up guys, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. So whether you spend your time actually playing the game or if you've been reading about it online or watching YouTube videos, something you've probably noticed is that a lot less people are playing now compared to a couple of months ago. At least for Classic WoW the number has drastically gone down, but even for Shadowlands the amount of players actively playing right now is nothing compared to the actual launch of the expansion itself. And then you also have the recent lawsuit against Blizzard, which also caused a lot of content creators to straight up quit covering World of Warcraft and move on to other games, which didn't really help the situation of World of Warcraft's player numbers either. So before I get further into this video, I want to ask you, are you still playing WoW? And if not, then why did you quit? I'm genuinely curious, as there could be a lot of reasons, and today I want to highlight a couple of reasons why I think a lot of players have quit. I will split the video into 2, maybe 3 different parts, as the story itself is kinda threefold. So first off, we have the most recent launch within World of Warcraft in terms of actual expansions or quote games, which is TBC Classic. I dare say TBC Classic was doomed from the start, with Blizzard introducing so many paid things to the in-game cash shop, like the level 58 boost and the Deluxe edition, which also included a paid mount. The introduction of these things caused several negative effects, but the 3 things that I want to highlight is the fact that it caused players to straight up quit before TBC Classic, because this was not what they signed up for, and it also festered negativity within the game itself, as people who were against this cash shop started being very negative and hostile to people who used it. For example, people started spitting on people with the store mount, and people who entered dungeons with boosted gear would get kicked from groups. On top of all of this, the third negative effect these had is more long term, which is botters abusing the level 58 boost, or abusing pretty much everything, but especially the level 58 boost, which is one huge argument for why botting is so rampant in TBC Classic right now, and anyone could have foreseen this the second they decided to add the boost. On top of this, TBC Classic is a fun expansion, but the way people play games in 2021 doesn't really correspond to the way people played back in 2006. And even mediocre guilds cleared most of the raiding content within the first couple of weeks, as you could pretty much skip heroic dungeons and go straight into Karasan, meaning that from that point there's no new content in TBC Classic until Phase 2, which caused people to raid log, and lack of new content will also cause some people to quit. Now, while I don't think this is a huge reason why a lot of people are leaving TBC, I think it may be a contributing factor, but the fact is that by adding the in-game cash shop they already ruined the classic feeling of pretty much everything, and people lost a lot of their connection to the game itself the second they started seeing that the game itself is starting to go down the same path as retail. Introducing the level 58 boost removes a massive chunk of content and invalidates the old world to the point where any level 1 to 58 zones in Azeroth feels dead, and being a new player who decides to start playing TBC, being completely alone for the first 58 levels in an MMORPG is not the best first impression of a game. Now, when it comes to Shadowlands, we can actually start diving into some numbers to see exactly how many people have quit the game already and how many people are still playing. So Shadowlands itself came out at the end of November last year, and I think the expansion itself was quite interesting. It had an interesting topic, an interesting narrative, and it was really just interesting. Combine that with beautiful zones and somewhat fun quests to do while leveling, and I truly had a blast for the first month. But after the first month I was kind of done. I had done everything that I wanted and needed to do, and from that point the only content left was either farming rares for mounts with stupidly low drop chances, especially considering these mounts weren't even unique. In most cases they were a reskin, or I could farm anima, which was incredibly boring, or I could farm raiding content, which I don't enjoy, or here's the real kicker, I could spam world quests. Jokes aside, I think Shadowlands could have been so much more than what it turned out to be, and this is true for so many World of Warcraft's most recent expansions. Well, mostly BFA and Shadowlands, and I'll get into that in a second, but first let's take a look at the numbers. At launch, Shadowlands had a peak of 7.2 million active daily players, not subscribers but active daily players. Already 1 month after release, this number was cut in half as you see 4 million active daily players. What does this tell you? Well, it tells you that Shadowlands itself had a promising concept, as it got a lot of players to subscribe and try it out, based on the concept of the expansion itself, but it also tells you that the content of the expansion was so boring that after 1 month of playing, half the player base was bored of the expansion, to the point where they already quit playing. Fast forward another 4 months and another 50% of the players that survived the first month of Shadowlands has also quit, as in May we hit our ground floor of 2 million active daily players, which is roughly 25% of the number of players that we had at the launch of Shadowlands, meaning that by this point, roughly 6 months into the expansion, 75% of players had quit. Now at the end of June, we saw a huge surge of active daily players again, as we got back to 3.5 million, and this is because of the release of TBC Classic, as this chart right here shows you the active daily players of the entirety of World of Warcraft. Now if you look at the big chart for World of Warcraft across multiple expansions, most notably look at the fact that while Legion had a massive surge of players going from 36 million to 46 million, BFA and Shadowlands hasn't had a single surge, except for a very minor surge in BFA, going from 32 to 33 million. This means that since that one surge in Legion, the game has pretty much been on a constant downward trend, and I have an idea on why. If you've watched Preach's video on why he quit World of Warcraft, he put it in way better words than I can, but pretty much, WoW developers do not listen to player feedback. We stress test the game for them in both alpha and beta stages, and we provide them with valuable feedback both in-game and also in terms of content. They proceed to ignore all of the feedback and go forward with their original plan. Remember the hashtag pull the ripcord from Shadowlands? Why didn't they just pull the ripcord? Why keep on adding advanced systems on top of advanced systems, instead of just focusing on just making a good game? Ever since Legion, we have had expansion-specific systems that you grind for during that expansion, and the second the expansion is over, you feel like you did it all for nothing, because now you have to start over and grind a brand new resource for a new system for that new expansion. It is pretty much like you're chasing a carrot at the end of a stick, and when you get the carrot it turns out to be made of plastic, or it was just an illusion. We had the Azurite armor in BFA that nobody liked, but they insisted on keeping. We had the essences, which was terrible, but got better over time. We also had the corruption system, which was incredibly broken and beyond terrible, and the corruption vendor rotation was just idiotic. Now for Shadowlands we have Anima to grind, we have Renown, and as of 9.1 we also have Domination sockets and Domination armor, which will also just be rendered useless at some point, I'm guessing either in 9.02 or at the end of Shadowlands, and we are once again grinding for something temporary. Instead of coming up with these advanced systems that nobody likes, just give us back tier sets which people did like, and it was simple and less RNG, and use the time that you would otherwise use to come up with these absurd systems to actually make a game worth playing. Now I'm going to admit this is a sad video for me to make, but I do think it's an important one, both for us as players but also for Blizzard, and hopefully content creators as well as players leaving their game might be the kick they need to get back on track and start listening to feedback and focus on the fundamentals instead of unnecessarily complicated systems. So that is basically it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and remember, if you did enjoy the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up to help push it into the algorithm. And for more World of Warcraft content, make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.